Hey everyone, thanks for being here. It's Grandma Moore on this Monday, and today I wanted to talk about what risk we face on a daily basis as we come out here and work these gig apps. So come along, let's see if I can make my goal and talk about all these risks. So my goal right now is in Monday and Tuesday is to be able to pay a $265 bill that has to be paid by Tuesday night. And as I'm thinking about my game plan on how I'm going to reach this goal, I'm like, okay, what are my risks and how can I eliminate them or minimize them? So I've already done a couple of deliveries. And my first obstacle I ran into, my first risk I ran into today was an Uber order from Crackle Barrel. And it was stolen, taken. I don't know what happened to it. But either way, I wasn't able to get it. I didn't get half pay. I didn't get anything from Uber. So that's a big risk as I accept orders from Uber. Is the order going to be there? Um, am I willing to drive those miles to go pick up that order with no pay coming back to me if there's an issue with the order? All right, the second one, it started raining on me. So there's nothing you can do about the weather other than be aware and prepared. So I didn't think it was supposed to rain today. It's a light rain right now. But what I do to prepare for it is I have a rain jacket. I try to think of my shoes. So I did wear some sandals that I don't care if they get wet or not. But some days I don't have anything with me and it's pouring, so then I either have to quit or be willing to get super wet. The third issue I ran into so far today is wait time at the restaurants. I had a Hardee's order. It was a decent order, $8.50, not a problem. But then I had to wait a very long time for the food. And at what point do you say, okay, I'm gonna unassign it, or I'm going to wait for the order? Sometimes for me, that's a hard decision. In this particular case, I was outside of the zone for my previous delivery, and the Uber order kept me there, and I didn't get it. So it was around the corner from from the Cracker Barrel I was going to pick up the Uber order from, and it was taking me back to the zone. So it was worth the wait for me because I would be driving back to the zone with no money, and this way I at least was making money to get back to the zone. But sometimes, you know, it might pay much, or oh, it's not taking me, it just not taking me where I want to go anyway, so I might unassign that. So I try to keep mindful. I do ask in a nice way. Sometimes I know before it didn't sound nice, but so I try to let them know, hey, I am deciding if I'm going to keep this order or unassign it. Could you let me know how long you think it'll take? And then I'll decide from there, depending on, all the circumstances. So the wait times are definitely, I'm kind of all over the place with that. It just really depends what what I'm trying to accomplish, what's going on, where's it leading, things like that. So, and there's no control, you have no control over that. Trying to stay calm and patient. I think the nicer you are to the restaurant workers, the more information you could get from them. Well, the rain picked up, so I had to put on my rain jacket. So, I'm taking another order from Doordash. As I dropped off the Joella's, I was debating which app should I try to stick with. And I'm a little frustrated with Uber right now because of the order where it's not there. I didn't get anything. But I found that as a risk too, because do I or do I not leave them both on? Do I go with DoorDash? Which app should I use today? Roadie or Shipt or Spark? So I find that kind of as a risk because I might make the wrong decision. Uber showed busy, a lot of red spots, but it did the other day and I didn't get any orders. So I try to leave them both on. And once I get an order, pause the other, and then whatever keeps me busy. DoorDash is keeping me very busy today, so I went ahead and turned off Uber. But then, Uber kind of pays better than DoorDash, but there seems to be more risk. I think the number one factor in doing these gig apps are our resources. And what are the resources we need? We need our cell phone and a mode of transportation. So for my cell phone, I use a wireless charger and I do a lot of shopping. And so with my lot of shopping, it really sucks the battery. So I have a wireless car charger holder in my car, and then I keep a battery pack with me, and then I can carry that with me into the store because sometimes I'm doing so many shopping and the deliveries are close by that it doesn't have time to charge up in my car. So I just take my battery pack and charge it wherever I'm at. It has a cord. And then the car, oh my. So, having the regular maintenance, oil change, check the tires, there for a minute. We have so much construction going on. Not only are the roads being worked on, but we have so many houses and apartment buildings being built. It's crazy, just expanding everywhere. That seemed like every day I had something in my tire. So I have in my trunk a tire repair kit and an air pump. You just plug it into the cigarette lighter and it'll it's almost like a little miniature air pump and pump up my tire, get me home or whatever. So that's been a huge risk for me as going into these new subdivisions or new apartment complexes. The construction crew or whatever, they have screws laying around or whatever. So that has been a huge risk for me. And then making sure I've got good tires, my oil's been changed. I have an oil leak, so I have to add oil all the time. But just babying it. And then, like when I first started, I wanted to make that money fast, fast, fast. And I would just make bad driving decisions. And now I know it's better to be a minute late to a delivery or take a minute longer to get where I need to go because I've got to take care of my car to get to make money. This car is trying to get over as we speak. And I'd rather just drive defensively and be sure, to stop. It's not worth it because if something happens to my car, I can't work. And if the app gets mad at me because I'm a minute late, I have other apps I can rely on. So it is very important to have other apps just in case something happens. You've got something else to fall back on. Take care of your car, keep yourself safe. I'm at that weird spot right now where I'm in my favorite area of the zone to dash, but it's not necessarily busy. I haven't got any orders since I dropped off this Myers order. So, do I stay in my favorite area or do I go to a different area? So the way my zone's set up, you kind of have three big cities and they're kind of like in line, but the middle one has restaurants all together. And usually you can go there, get an order, and then it'll spread you out somewhere else. The risk I take is that's more miles. And the least miles I take, the more profit that is. But it's better than sitting around in my favorite zone waiting for an order. So, what do? I'd rather go and use a few extra miles to keep my momentum going. Because the next thing is, if my momentum doesn't keep going, then I lose motivation and I get discouraged, right? So it's always a hard decision like, where should I go? Which hot spot should I sit at? I find that very frustrating and hard to decide in most cases. So, on my way to the middle part of the zone to see if I can get something going. Another risk I'm running into today is the traffic. So, I was just talking about which area of my zone I like to work in. And when I go to the middle, I know I'll get it ordered. Like I got this Target order, but now I am in a lot of traffic. So once I pick up this order, I have to make a decision to go the back way which has got some construction or whatever, and miss tons of traffic, or go through the traffic and make it a smoother way. But I don't know how long it's going to take me to get through the traffic. I'm impatient. So it's important to know your area so you can figure out the back ways, shortcuts. And that's the biggest compliment I get is, wow, you're really fast. But I've lived here my whole life and I know some shortcuts and I use that a lot. So I just finished the Target shopping on my way to deliver them. There's two of them. And it's out of our control, but there only one cashier was open. Rest the what do you call it? The self checkout. There was only three out of the four open. Lines everywhere. And I think about it. That's one of the risks I take by doing all the shopping is, well, I'll be able to, how fast will I get through the line? I control how fast I shop depending on if the customer responds, if there's an issue. But if there's no issue, I control that. But the checkout, I can't control, the customer can't control, or neither can the apps. So I think about that sometimes, like when a train comes, that's not the customer's fault, not the app's fault, not my fault. But we are willing to take those risks to be able to work these apps. I just think about all these different scenarios and things that happen to me during the day. And a lot of times throughout the day, these happen every day. And how do I mitigate that to make my goal for the day? And then do I put myself out there by doing the shopping orders, knowing I might not be able to check out fast? Or do I take that Uber order knowing the order might not be there, a higher probability that it won't be there versus a Doordash one? So, and then I know I won't get any compensation, where at least at Doordash, I know I will get some compensation. So, just interesting how these different things happen to us every day, and how do we face it or overcome it. So right now the line to get on the expressway is forever long, like three lights behind. So instead of doing that like the GPS wants me to, I'm going the back way. So as I identify a risk or a challenge, I look at it, okay, what are some other options, or how can I eliminate that? I know if I go this back way, I'm probably not going to run into any traffic. I might have to, I don't even have to backtrack. I'm good there. It might just take me a couple more minutes than GPS said, but in all reality, it takes me less time because it doesn't account for all the traffic. Calculates some of it, but not all of it. And then less chance of getting in a wreck because I'm not in there with all that traffic. So as you go through, think about all the things you're facing and decisions you're making. How do you compensate for that? Do you change a pattern? Do you change not follow GPS? What is it that you're doing to help you have less risk? Well, I just delivered that Target order, the last one, and there's two houses there. GPS took me to that one. There was no address I could find. So I followed the GPS, but that could be a risk too, because if it is wrong, they could complain. It counts against your stats, and the better stats you have, the better off you are for the most part. I don't get overly upset about that, but I don't want to deliver to the wrong house either. And there was not enough information in the notes or at either house for me to make the best decision other than following the GPS. So that could be frustrating. Some other risks that I was thinking about, you go out and you get no orders. You wasted gas, whatever, time. And I know on Saturday I went out for a couple hours at around lunchtime. I got nothing for a couple of hours and I don't live close by. So coming down, changing rearranging my schedule, and then coming down and there's nothing. And then, sometimes I come down and there's so many dashers. What do? I try to just move around to the different areas in the zone and see where there's less drivers and go to that area. On Saturday, though, I don't know, there was just not a lot of orders. It was a pretty day. So I had decided to go somewhere else, but I ended up, to a whole different area altogether, but I ended up not making it. But those are risks you take because you don't know, we're dependent on it's a service, right? So you're dependent on people ordering or people doing stuff, and then depending on not having 400 dashers out at once, and you don't know how many people are out there and how many people are not out there. So those are always a problem. Other thing that I have an issue with is the app itself. DoorDash app freezes on me all the time. I just leave my settings open to my Dasher app so I could just force stop it and turn it back on. I know there's other ways people have shared, but that is a bad issue. One of my orders this morning, I'm at their porch and it won't take a picture. It was just frozen, so I had to force stop it and do all of that. And I hadn't had the settings open yet. I'll leave it open so I can do it real quick, and it's not because you get stuck in front of somebody's house or their driveway or something that won't in that that dash, and I want to hurry, hurry, hurry. So that is a problem. App issues. And one morning, I couldn't, it was one morning last week, nothing was going on. I couldn't change my schedule. I couldn't do anything. And I found out there was a national outage. Sometimes the Uber app doesn't show where the hot spots are. Sometimes it does. So app issues are definitely a risk. And if the app's not working, I can't make money. So, and it's happened in the middle of the day while you're out and you're like, why am I not getting any orders? And then you look it up and sure enough, the app's down or there is some issue. Gone to the restaurant, they're like, our tablet's not working. There's nothing we could do. We don't have the orders. It's so that is a big risk. There's so many different things that can stop us from making our money as timely and as effective as we like. As we go through the day, we run across many obstacles, challenges, risks, whatever word you like to use that hinders our day. And then just to be able to identify them and then come up with plan A, plan B, plan C. If we come across this, how are we going to handle it? Really just helps minimize the stress it causes us when we're out there. So I thought I'd just bring a few of them up and a few ways that I minimize them. If you have any other daily risk or challenges, obstacles that you have faced, but I didn't mention it, would you drop it down in the comments? Maybe it'll help somebody else. And I'm sure I forgot several. As you're preparing to maybe go back into the workforce or update your resume, that's one thing you could say on your resume about these gig apps. You mitigated risk to improve profits. So it's nice to know what were the risks if they're ever ask you those questions, right? Today's devotion is faithfulness through the ages. We can read scripture with expectation because God never fails to deliver on his promises. And I wanted to read Romans 8:38 through 39. For I am convinced that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor any other created thing will be able to separate us from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus the Lord. As things have been happening in my life here recently, hanging out with the grandkids and doing YouTube and doing Doordash and trying to come up with some other ways of making money, I get all these goals and I want to get this accomplished and that accomplished. And it's summertime. I want to enjoy some of the summer activities. And then I get so busy, or so busy in my mind at least, that I don't stop and take that quiet time to have that conversation with God. It comes to me so easy, but here lately it hasn't because my mind's going 100 miles an hour and it's so loud. And just today has been wonderful, just being quiet by myself, doing my video, doing Doordash, and I've really had that quiet time and talking to God again and doing these things. And I know it sounds so little, but to just listen and have that quiet time means so much, and you can expand so much more, you know? And then to stop and be thankful. I know right now an old classmate is burying her son today, 32-year-old son, and you know, you just got to stop and be thankful for what we have. And it's hard because you're like, oh, I need to make this money, you know, I have to pay this bill tomorrow, and how I'm gonna make it, blah blah blah. But I'm thankful that, you know, we have our health, a place to live, food on our table, car to drive. I have this opportunity to do the gig apps and have flexibility and do the things I need to do. And I don't know, I just reading that devotion just got a lot of things going, because I'm thinking, all right, you know, sometimes I forget. For the most part, I'm pretty good, you know. Fixed the kids' dinner last night. They came over and, okay, everybody stop and pray and do your thing. Some things are so mechanic that you don't think about it and it come from your heart. And then some things are, and sometimes I feel like I go through the motions, but I don't stop and listen and take it in. And when I take it in, it just brightens my day and gives me a focus, you know. So that's the devotion today. Don't forget to stop and just listen. All right, I'm on my way to drop off my very last order. And I know you probably won't believe this, but I got hit by 2 trains. Or not hit, stopped by 2 trains. So I'm sitting here waiting for the second train to go through. This order is going to be so late. But today's video was actually very helpful for me. I had made a list of some of the risks that we face as we're trying to earn our money, and, you know, making myself identify them and then talk about them. And then, you know, subconsciously you do this, and this, but to really talk about it and put it in words has helped me a lot today. I'm like, so getting stopped by this train just makes me laugh. But when it happened the second time, it wasn't so funny. So anyway, I have went, by the time I drop this off, it'll be about 161 miles, made $220.78 for the day. So not bad. Worked about 10.5 hours, depending on how long this train's gonna last. So, which is really great, because tomorrow, you know, my whole goal was to make $265 between today and tomorrow, and then I need gas money. So tomorrow I'll only have to make $100. I'm gonna have a coffee date with an old friend at around 3:30. So I have the morning to get $100. I think I can accomplish that even on a Tuesday. Yikes, hopefully. If not, then after our coffee date, I can always work a couple of hours before going home. So I feel really good about the end of this day. It was good. It was opened my eyes to some things and able to really put stuff to words. So I hope it is helpful to you. Please add to the conversation. You know what I was thinking about before I turn this on? It would be fun to do like a virtual bingo card for everybody and see how many of these obstacles and risks we run into all day. I think that would be hilarious, but I'm not sure how to do that. Anyway, I hope you all have a great day. Stay safe out there. Be happy. God bless you.